You're listening to the MLS Fantasy Insider, bringing you weekly tips, tricks, and advice for the official MLS fantasy game.
Oh, shit. What?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the MLS Fantasy Insider. Good to see you all here as we are getting everything prepped. Let's see here. It's like Christian's getting his head chopped off a little bit. Let's see if I can.
Oh, that's my fault.
I was gonna say I can see if I can adjust that for you.
No.
There we go.
You don't want my full head. Okay.
We gotta let everyone see the.
He got a haircut. He got a haircut now.
He did get a haircut last week. He's got.
I know, but you don't want to cut the head off when he got the nice haircut.
Look at that. The head is actually swishy. Look at that. All right.
How is the volume, everyone? Thanks for joining us tonight, as usual. For those of you, the social is out on Reddit, getting it ready for Twitter X right now. Dink, dink, dink. With the correct link this time, unlike last week.
Oh,
I know, right? Bush League. Bush League. And retweet that. So there we go. There is the social out right there. Please do be so kind to like and share. Always helps with the algorithm. If this is the first time you are joining us tonight, welcome to the MLS Fantasy Insider. We come to you pretty much live every week around Mondays, depending on what sort of crazy things are going on in our lives. This week we were able to make Mondays work, and we especially try to come to you live on Mondays during double game weeks, which tonight is not, but last week was, and so we are really excited to break some of that down. Lessons. Looking forward, chat, to I love that, Eric. Microphone, headphones, check. Looking forward to hearing what some of you all have taken away from this round. I thought it was a great round. It was a great double game week, but we will get into that once we get everything started for the intro. Here we go.
Actually, you keep typing the same players I'm typing.
let's see how you do with strikers.
Hello and welcome to the MLS Fantasy Insider, our preview of round 16 of the 2024 MLS Fantasy season. This episode is brought to you by Broken Clean Sheets, a documentary from Stoppage Time Studios. Actually, brought to you by the amazing MLS Fantasy Insider Patreon supporters. It's because of you that we are able to keep this project going. Find out more about our Patreon over at patreon.com/MLSFI. I'm your host, Reed Connolly from MLSFantasyBoss.com, and tonight I'm joined by my partner in fantasy, Ashley Savage. We'd also like to welcome our special guest, Christian Ward from the MLS Fantasy Boss Discord server and admin. How are you doing tonight?
I'm great.
I'm feeling right.
Dude, I mean, you might be wrong, but I seriously doubt it.
I always doubt it. I assume Christian's right.
Well, so, happy to have Christian back to talk DGW. That may end up being the theme for this year, having him come back to break that down because he does it so well. And they're always fun. They're always fun. We know that last week was massive with the double game weeks. Hope you all had a lot of success with that. Love to see your scores in chat right now. I know as a usual game week, we were scrambling at the last minute, trying to get updates out about players who did or didn't appear in the lineups. I know Arango was one people were really looking at. Carranza was another one that were causing some last minute changes. So it may have pushed some people closer to chalk than others, or provided some opportunities for some interesting differentials. We shall see with that. But of course, we're going to be back to back with an incredibly limited single game week this round, and that again, as we were talking about a couple weeks ago, the beauty of because MLS, Olympics going on, internationals going on, and because MLS, we are still having games. So very few teams playing, but we are still here to get some of the takeaways from the double game week and then talk about the teams that we are looking at, the players we are looking at, as we still want to try to help you prep for this single game week round. So scores are already coming in. Look fantastic, guys. The scores look really well. Let's start with you all. How did you do in round 15, Christian?
Well, I got 221 points. I was week rank or round rank, however you want to say it, 30, uh, and climbed one spot in overall rank to number 5. Uh, so it's a pretty solid week, I think. My only real regret was picking Gazdag. Uh, I benched him, but I picked him over Forsberg. And, Forsberg did a really good job of like making me feel right about picking Gazdag up until like the 70th minute of that match. So, you know, um, uh, Ryan Gauld looks pretty good. I had him on my team. What did he get? He got 23 points on the week or on the round over 2 games. When Gauld switches on, he's pretty deadly. He's almost a must-have. And it seems like he switched on right about the same time as he switched on the year before and the year before that. So it was round 11 before he actually started getting fantasy returns for the last few years. And it seems like, that whole Harry Kane never scores in whatever, May kind of thing or June, whatever. Ricky Pooch, 25 points, had him. Evander, a little bit disappointing. He usually scores higher than this. He ended on a 15. I did pick up Matty Bogusz because I wanted a late possible scrub in case Gazdag did not hit his first game. He did not necessarily hit his first game well enough for me to keep him. With Carranza being out, Gazdag is not a viable pick in my opinion. So I just abandoned him. Gazdag was on my bench. He ended up with an 11, which is decent for a single game week, but kind of okay for a double. And speaking of 11s, I started Suarez, which I was really on the fence about, but I figured, a couple home games, he's good to go and he's well rested and all that fun logic we use to justify a pick. And he ended up pooping the sheets, as we say.
Who says that?
And
Christian and
go
I.
Okay.
Christian and I say it, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, well, I mean, I probably thanks for validating me, Ashley, but
Anytime.
you probably never say that. You use the other term.
I use the
anyway. Messi was okay. Had a 40 because I capped him, and he was the chalk cap. And if you're at a certain rank and not trying to climb like scads of ranks, you always kind of want to pick a chalk captain on a double game week, or you could absolutely lose a whole ton of ground.
Better than Bouanga, am I right?
Yeah, he got 1 point more than Bouanga. Yeah. I wasn't going to say it. Glad you brought it up. I was so, I'm going to leave this for Ashley. We're going to get ourselves an Ashley rant tonight, I have a feeling. Anyway, I had New York Red Bulls on my bench. I decided to keep them both. I scrubbed for them. And Tolkien rewarded us for, with a 20-pointer.
Yeah.
I also had Alba on the bench, 21 points. Wagner starting 19. And I ran 2 defensive scrubs in a 3 at the back. So, yeah, that equals 221 points. I'm very happy with that. It could have been a lot worse. So, yeah, that's me.
Ashley.
Speaking of a lot worse, I got 202. I'm not gonna, there's not like a clear thing that I felt like I did wrong in the sense that like, oh, I pivoted to this person or I tinkered to that. I just took a couple of little gambles on my bench that didn't pay off. Breaking 200, I feel like was good, was fine. I fell to 29 overall, which I'm not like crazy mad at that. But I lost my second straight MLS Fantasy Boss host head to head, which is just, those ones keep me up at night, so I don't love that. I did pivot away from Tolkien to Alba, which ended up being better by a point, but then I also didn't have those Tolkien points. I went Morgan over Forsberg, which was the first time I've done that all year. Every time everyone's been on Lewis Morgan, I've continued to be on Forsberg when he's been available. I don't know what made me do that this round, but
Set
that
pieces.
was, I don't know. I just had a feeling, and my feeling was wrong. So, I ended up with the Morgan points instead of the Forsberg points. I also started Gazdag even when I saw Carranza was out because I just didn't want to pivot too big. But I started him because I didn't trust Suarez, which ended up being the exact same. So that was kind of the decision that I had to make was, well, do I want to start Suarez or do I want to start Gazdag with no Carranza? And so with PKs and stuff, I figured I'll start him. But to me, 11 points on a double for midi is not good, right? I don't think that that's quite enough. Some players that impressed me, Jordi Alba really impressed me this round. We've kind of been waiting for his offensive contributions to kick back up like they did when he first got here and at certain points at the start of the year after his coming back from injury recently. And this was definitely the round where his offensive, capabilities kicked in. The shutouts weren't what you were looking for anymore. He was just contributing down that left side like crazy, which is great. The LAFC defense really starting to click. Hugo Lloris, if you watched any of those games, really starting to look like the Hugo Lloris you remember from Tottenham, from France. Maybe not quite to that level, but when he first was settling in, LAFC were not keeping a lot of shutouts. He's looking a lot better. Team of the week for fantasy, really kind of locking in that defense. Both referenced by Christian and myself, but John Tolkien really rewarding people, even though they only posted one clean sheet. He got that goal, which was redeeming. Mukhtar had a really, I'll keep this brief because I respect Reed, but really productive first game. The second game, not quite as much, but that was something that we kind of touched on a little bit, Zimmerman or Mukhtar, in the last episode going into this past round. And Mukhtar definitely, I think delivered. He pulled up 21 points, team of the week. Definitely a good week for him. And then Chicho doing what Chicho do, making us all say, why did you want to take Carranza and Suarez when you could have had me? So that's great. My one thought, and I know this is what Christian thinks I am going to rant about, but I'm kind of not because I just feel like because MLS. Red Bull blowing that clean sheet in stoppage time after all of us had to decide, do we switch to LAFC or do we keep this clean sheet that they have even though the game's not over? I can't remember, did you say you did keep it?
You're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry. I scrubbed for them, yeah.
Yeah, so I scrubbed out my LAFC defender and Hugo Lloris to keep those Red Bull points. And they conceded. It was nice to see them get the shutout in the second game. Felt a little redeeming. But to lose that shutout right after the final kickoff of the Wednesday game was just so poetic. Like, that's why I feel like it was kind of hard to be mad at. I was like, sure, of course they did. Why would they not? But
I was livid.
Oh,
I was sending so many gifs in our team chat. So
yeah, Reed was more pissed off than I.
It was kind of funny. I was like, okay, where's the popcorn?
Yeah, it's like I said, because MLS, right? I mean, all of us who've played this game long enough had to know when we changed it because it was going to lock, even though the game wasn't over. If you didn't have a tiny twinge of, shit, are they going to concede? Then you haven't played fantasy long enough. So I think
there was nothing tiny about that twinge.
Yeah, exactly. So you just have to make the choice and go with it. And so I chose wrong. But like I said, at least they pulled out a shutout in the second. But, that stuck me with Cornell at 10, and it could have been Lloris at 15, which at the end of the day is not that big of a difference, but was still just so brutal to live through. So, Yeah, those are kind of my thoughts and recaps about the round. Not my greatest, but not my worst.
Yeah, so I had a good round. Actually, I got hit pretty hard by the price adjustments that came out today. I think I lost maybe 7 points with this. I ended up with 210, 86 overall now, 257 on the week. But I went up. Before the price adjustment, I'd gone up over 30 ranks.
You mean point adjustment?
Yeah, the point adjustments that came out.
Okay, you kept saying price, and I was like, why are we always
sorry.
about money?
Sorry. Sorry. Well, I had to make some choices because of money. The point adjustments that came out, I lost about 7, so I got hit pretty hard with that. But I was outside the top 100, back in the top 100 now, so that's always what I shoot for. So nice to see that. But I still went up 20-ish some points. So a lot of movement there in the bottom 100, 150, I would say, based on where your rank was. I mean, points were very much so triggered by the Red Bulls situation, which was mostly just pure frustration because it was a weather delay and it just went on too long. And I sent the update out on Twitter where it was like, you've got until 45. The games are usually starting on the 30. This one's at the 45, and so you have the time. And I pulled the trigger to switch away from having Lloris there and going with Coronel. But I decided not to drop Campos. I just did the keeper. So I had Tolkien already locked, I had Wagner already locked, and I had Campos, and I decided, no, you know what? I'm still gonna roll with that. And so I at least got some of the LA points, and then that goal came, and I was just... It may have ended up that way. It may have not. There was weather, but we would have been able to see that game, and I wanted to see that game, and that was why, because they had an excellent chance for 2 clean sheets, and that's what they came with. But I still got some of the points there. But yeah, Tolkien, Wagner, Campos. I left only one. I left Gazdag in, so I got those 11 points. I had Gressel, Gald, and Suarez on my bench because I know that Alba ended up doing well. A lot of people were targeting Alba. I was worried about the rotation for him, and I figured Gressel would have at least played both. Your hand is up, Ashley.
Yeah, I'm a teacher. This is what I feel is respectful.
It's okay.
And it transitions well in a podcast format. Can I just make a reference that might not land in this community? And I know that going into it. But as the cinematic masterpiece character Gretchen Wieners says, sorry, it's not Gretchen Wieners, it's Regina George. Stop trying to make fetch happen. And that's how I feel about Gressel this season. We're all just trying to remember who he's been and make him work, and he doesn't. I agree with you about that rotation. Alba, that worried me too. But Gressel is just not hitting in a system that is hitting. And it's like every week I see someone or several people that I respect or know or whatever, let you being one of them, throw them on the team. And I'm sure he'll hit probably next week because this is the Ashley rant Christian didn't know was coming. But he's just not. He's just not. I mean, the data does not support it.
But here's the thing. I did not get him hoping he would do something. I got him as a cheap way into the Miami defense, who I thought might not get a clean sheet. Because even though you like to flaunt your budget at everybody, there are some of us that even at this time with players changing, I was trying to fit some people into a budget. It ended up being adjusted once some of those other players got scrubbed, and I made some adjustments with everything in Suarez. But there were still some budget considerations I had to make to get some players in like I wanted. So, but that...
Well, you got your money's worth.
I did. Well, he didn't come in. I mean, he stayed on the bench because I got Gald's 23 that came in because I only ran one scrub as a defender, not counting my keeper, and so I got Messi, had Evander Gald. So pretty chalky there with Forsberg over Morgan at the last minute, and so that paid off with some points. But pretty happy with a lot of that. As far as takeaways, though, very frustrated about the Cincinnati-Nashville game because I was impressed with Nashville. Nashville played against Cincinnati like Nashville needs to play to make some of those offensive players worth it, as we had hoped they would have played earlier in the year when we were talking about taking some flyers on Nashville. And a lot of it was because of Mukhtar's position. When he was playing up and advanced and in that more attacking spot, when they were pushing more for just the pure counterattack, not even worried about necessarily possession at times, that was what very much paid off for them. And it looked like it completely caught Cincinnati by surprise, because it was just not fun. But that was what it was with Nashville, and Mukhtar did that. Not as effective in the second round against New England, which a lot of people were really banking on that game. And but he still got a goal out of that one, so turned out well there. I think, again, yeah, we already covered the Messi cap and Bouanga. I agree with Christian. It was the safest bet to sort of hedge your bets and protect your positioning. Some of the other players absolutely did do well, but that's a larger risk. And man, look at Arango. We all abandoned him because of the lineup, and he comes in with that monster score as a single game week player. So it happens. It happens always. Almost always the single game week players come in. A couple other things I feel like I had some indication with Vancouver with no clean sheet. I know that was kind of being debated about a potential clean sheet team, and I had it for a hot minute, and then was like, no, Reed, this is not what you do with Vancouver. And
they don't like them. I don't know why.
That's what I do with Vancouver.
See, it paid off once for you, Christian, when you like tripled up on them. But I was like, no, I don't have faith. I don't have faith in that, and I much more preferred that Red Bull chances. So that's what I did, and they gave up a goal in each game. So I feel like vindicated there. Even though Colorado didn't do well, I did mention Jordan Mihailovic, and he had some good production because of how he position that he plays and set pieces and those opportunities that he gets. And so I think that was a nice mention there. And then I want to point out also Houston and Portland. There were a lot of conversations, particularly with Houston, with who people were going to go with. Are you going to go with Bossy? Are you going to go with Hector Herrera? I'm looking at this stuff. And for Houston, it was just point sharing across the board with both of those games, with different people scoring, different people assisting. It was just wild. And as a Houston fan, I'm sure you loved it, seeing all that production. But as a fantasy manager, that is awful, not having some of that predictability. And this has not been an uncommon trait of Houston over the years. There have often been times when they've had multiple players with multiple threats, and you just didn't know where to go. And this was, again, that situation for them. And also what I feel is happening with the Portland forward situation. Is it Rodriguez? Is it Mora? What's going on? And it feels hard to sort of narrow down which one you want to go with. Thank goodness there's Evander. That tends to be the easy go-to. But when you want to do that double up at times, which we may talk about later this week or this episode, it's difficult because there is some point sharing going on right there. So that's some of the general takeaways that we all have from this round. This was the kind of double game week that we wanted to see. Like this is like those 200 plus points. Like this is pure double game week MLS nonsense that comes through and just knocks the socks off of everything. For those who've been listening for a while, a few years ago, we did have some system where only the top score of the double game week was counted. That lasted, I think, 2 seasons, and it went back to this. So enjoy that, because this is the bananas point scoring that we get. That is just so nice to see at the end of the day, even if it does make things pretty chalky. So that's it. Nothing else really. I think we talked about nothing else really coming into the chat. So as I mentioned at the top of the show, this was the recap from the big double game week, but this round is very small. Very few teams are playing because of various reasons we're going to cover up next during our housekeeping section. Bada boom. There we go. Let's see here. Let's get...
I was going to bring up the point that normally in a double game week, sort of like what I did last time to reinforce it, that I probably would have scrubbed for Coronel and Tolkien anyway.
Yeah.
Double home. I mean,
yep.
I've never really subscribed to they failed their first game, so get rid of them. That's not.
See, I'm different because to me, LAFC also double home, comparable matchups, and I still have 2 shots. That's kind of like I don't
Oh
read.
yeah, if there's a later double home, sure, but
Yeah, and so for me, if they'd blown that before LAFC locked, I would have kept LAFC because yes, Red Bull
yeah,
could still get the shutout against Orlando, which they did. But to me, I still have two chances with LAFC. That's what would make me want to do it.
yeah. I mean, I might have done the same thing
Yeah,
had there been,
yeah. Had you
but
actually,
I'm not all torn up about
sure. Well, Reed was. I'm surprised you brought it up again.
Oh, I was just irritated with the
sorry.
timing of it about how
So bad.
I was just irritated about like, oh my gosh, the weather and then all this kind of stuff, and of course all this happens at the last minute.
Well, I mean, you got beat by Nashville.
I did get beat. I was already upset. Yes, I mean it was just
Yeah.
general.
I had the audacity to
frustrations.
message him that I had Walker Zimmerman for that game, and it didn't land well.
I
Why
think
would
what was
you
my
do
response
that?
was, "How dare you?"
Yeah, I just
Why would you
wanted
do
to
that?
see.
Are you trying to poke the bear? I mean,
She was. She
I
was.
was
Yeah.
like, yes, I didn't
well,
mean.
that's a dumb question. Yeah, I take
Oh,
it
I
back.
just
Yeah, I
did.
already know the answer.
Yeah.
So I'm just prepping the to announce the team. So I hope Tyler did well because we're going to talk about the head-to-head leagues. So good luck
good.
there, man.
He in chat
He's anxious to.
believe he's ready for you to do that. Yeah.
Well, then I better skip it. I mean, if he's ready.
Yeah,
for
I think
it,
so.
I don't think anybody cares.
We better get
Yeah,
rid of
nobody
this.
cares.
Let's see here:
Nobody
Discord,
cares.
Patreon, and the hosts invitational. All right, here, let's get this going. All right, socials out. Thank you very much, everyone, for sharing. Get rid of these people who are sending messages in the chat. Okay. Hello, welcome back for our housekeeping section going into round 16 of MLS Fantasy. It's going to be a short round, so we're going to give a chance to mention who is leading in the MLS Fantasy Boss network of leagues, which has been a couple of weeks since we've been able to do that. So starting with our Pro Rel League, MLS the Champions League, boy named Sue is leading everything, 13-0-2. Our good friend Wojo right there, tearing it up, starting to really pull away with the head-to-head format that we have here. Tough competition right there. Going down to the Veterans League, Moran Don't, which I believe that's Tyler right there, isn't it?
Oh,
That is
what?
Well,
Is
Tyler
it?
right there. Moran Don't. So
Wow.
leading with 12-0-3. So congratulations
Maybe
to Tyler.
that's his student. He's got his kids doing a fantasy.
Oh,
team.
maybe that's what it is. But yes,
That's probably
Your
that one. I
dog.
don't think. Yeah, I don't think he's.
leading the Veterans League, anxious to break into the Champions League for next year. Of course, heading over to the Homegrown League, two-way tie, 13-0-2. But we've got She's a Keeper right there by points, Ashley right here, and then Old Deefy is right there, right on your heels. So that
I'm
one's
giving it up pretty easy now.
that was I recognize some people in that one, so you've still got a chance in that one. And then finally our Discovery League, we've got 3 teams tied for 13-0-2. We'll just talk about 2 of them though. Trust Your Gut and Tommy's FC leading right there. Trust Your Gut by points.
Trust Your Gut is one of my best friends.
Well, there you go. Shout out to Ashley's
I
friend.
worked up.
Trust Your Gut, making a bid to move forward. Heading over to the MLS Fantasy Boss Network of Leagues, the head-to-heads that we have, the MLS Fantasy Insider Patreon head-to-head league. We have Agata Walter, and your team name gets truncated after that because frustrations. Leading the Patreon head-to-head with 13-1-1, so excellent right there. And then heading over to the MLS Fantasy Boss Discord head-to-head, Rain City Football is leading that one 15-0-0. One of the pretty much the only undefeated team that we have in any of the leagues still right here over there in the Discord head-to-head. And then finally, heading over to the MLS Fantasy Insider Hosts Invitational head-to-head league we have here. This one is tight, but at the top, 13-0-2. We have very own Draft Kicks, Skylar Redpath, who is leading right there. Number 2 is myself, 12-0-3. And then boy named Sue Wojo, 11-0-4. So there's the top 3 right there. Christian's at number 5. So right there for sure. So it is, as usual, very tight in the hosts invitational. So looking forward to seeing where that one comes in. I don't think. So have you won this league before, Christian?
I don't remember.
I don't think you. I don't
Head
think
to heads
you,
are weird, man. Like I like them, but I mean, you could be like killing it in the game itself and then just
Oh,
completely
I love it.
losing
No, I love it.
all the
That's why I love it
head-to-heads,
so
just
much.
like I do.
That's why I love it so much. Skylar and I are both previous champions of the head-to-head of the MLS Fantasy Hosts Insider League, and there's never been a two-time winner. So if either he or I can stand on, this could be the first time someone has a repeat, or plenty of time for some new
black
people
and
to come
red.
in.
I'm pretty sure black and
I
red
think
won
Black
it.
and Red has repeated too. I was gonna say.
I
feel
will
like-
check. I will check
Yeah.
the records while we're going through the next segment. But
And by the way, Agata Walter, my Roseros
Rosero.
is-
That's what it is.
is Cam. That's Dayman.
I just couldn't remember the second pun.
well, there we
Yeah.
go. I got truncated.
Or
so
is
I
that
couldn't see.
is that which league was that for?
I don't remember.
Because I would think
I
It's
closed the
for
window.
Hector.
I closed the window. Let's move on to actually talking
fine.
about round 16 now. So round 16 starts Saturday, June 8th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're all ready for that start date. However, there are only 4 games in this round. So 7:30 with New England versus New York Red Bulls, and then 3 games at 8:30, Minnesota versus FC Dallas, Sporting Kansas City versus Seattle Sounders, and St. Louis City SC versus Portland Timbers. Everybody else is on a bye, so it is far easier to cover the teams who are still here versus the teams that are gone. But everyone is on a bye, makes your switcheroos incredibly easy, but auto-roos, keeper-roos, anything like that, that's not going to happen. It's really going to be auto-roos as we're looking at from here. So maybe you can get some switches to work, but it's no. This is basically going to be an auto-root type of week with so few teams playing. However, the reason this is happening is because we have the Olympics going on, we have international games going on, we've got some injuries that we need to cover with you, some red cards, but it's mostly call-ups and these little international appearances, these very important international appearances that the players are participating in that MLS plays through. So we are still keeping fantasy going, still keeping the league going, but a much more truncated roster. But Christian, give us a rundown from the information that you and Tyler have so graciously worked up for us to share from the Mega Reference.
The following is brought to you by Ranchinator.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some suspensions here. Bernadeschi got himself a red again, and he's out. Out the next game. He's available to play. Okay, that didn't make sense. All right, Gomes has also got a red. Both are from Toronto. Ariel Lassiter got a red card for Montreal. Diego Chara, he's on yellow card accumulation, so he's out the next time that they're scheduled to play. Jack Elliott got a red card, so he's also out. And there are 2 injuries. I don't know the specifics behind them. I'll just mention them. Rasmus Alm from St. Louis and Christian Benteke from DC United. We have quite a few call-ups here, and I'm going to you're going to have to bear with me here because I'm looking at a list and then I'm trying to figure out who's playing actually and who's relevant. So I'm going to only get, there are plenty of call-ups. They are pinned in a document in the Discord if you want to go look at the full list. But I'm just going to do the ones for the games this week. So we've got New England versus New York Red Bulls. So New England, Esmir, he's been called up, and Ravas has been called up. Esmir might be a starter right now since Shankalai is injured, so that might affect some things. But Ravas, I think, has lost his spot to Ivicic, so that won't matter. New York Red Bulls, Corey Burke, he's not a starter. But Carlos Coronel is a starter. He's been called up. Emil Forsberg has been called up. John Tolkien has been called up. And Noah Eiley has been called up as well. So there's some debate as to whether that's going to weaken that team. Um, I don't think it will necessarily, but it's debatable. Next is Minnesota United versus FC Dallas. Minnesota United, Alejandro Braun, he's not a starter. But there are 8 others that are starters or who have been starting. So Minnesota's going to get hit pretty dang hard here. Robin Lod, he's out. Pukki's out. Rosales is out. St. Clair is out. Valentin is out. Carlos Harvey's out. Kervin Arriaga is out. And the Pièce de Resistance, Tani Olewashei, is out.
Wow.
Which makes me sad because he was totally going to be in my team. And it was announced, I think, today that he was called up. FC Dallas has absolutely 0 people called up. So they're going to be full strength against us, and I don't like that. We're going to lose. Anyway, Sporting Kansas City versus Seattle Sounders. Sporting Kansas City has 0 people out. If only they didn't stink so bad. Seattle Sounders. There's only 2 call-ups, and one of them is Nuhu. The other one is Jonathan Bell, and Bell's not a starter. So we'll probably see Baker at left back for Seattle, and that'll be their only change. So Seattle relatively full strength going into Sporting Kansas City.
Kinda is out.
Yeah, Kinda is out. Of course, Kinda is out. That's
And Tommy.
haha. All right. That's the comic relief in the droning of call-ups that I'm delivering right now. Brought to you by Ranchinator. St. Louis City versus Portland Timbers. St. Louis, the only person out is Kyle Hebert. I don't know how you say that. Portland has Kamal Miller, Maxime Crepeau, and Miguel Araujo are all out for Portland. Only 3. Crepeau is probably going to be a big miss. Miller, I don't know. Their defense sucks, so all 3 defenders, maybe it's advantage Portland. Who knows? But that's it. That's all we got for the active games who have players called up this week. There's a big list. It's pinned on Discord in the MLS channel. You're going to want to look at that list because it's going to, between now and the following game week, because these call-ups may, affect the next game week as well.
Thank you so much, Christian, for covering that. Thank you so much, Tyler, for helping to gather all that information. Definitely important. Keep an eye, as Christian said, on the list as we go forward, because that will be important. And if you want to know the easy way to find that, head over to MLSFantasyBoss.com/Discord. You can join the Discord community right there. It's fun. It's easy. It's free. Head over to the fantasy resources and go down in the toolbox and go down to the mega reference that is starred right there. So it's easy and it's such a great thing. Christian, your hand is up.
Yes. I think it bears mentioning that Gonzalo Pineda was fired today.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Come on.
That's part of the
home.
housekeeping, isn't it?
Bring it on home, Gonzo.
They swept his ass right out.
Mm-hmm.
He earned it.
Yeah.
He gone. Absolutely.
He gone.
No, good update. Oh, yeah, so check all that out. Stay up to date. Of course, stay up to date on the lineups as they come out because it could have some impact as we see what crazy things happen with Because MLS during a week like this. But we are going to be talking about which players we are interested in targeting coming up right after this. Let's see here. My Dropbox is being super slow. So hosts, invitational, where's the history? I got the history.
Oh, he's a dog with a bone.
I thought I had the history around here someplace. But I have to keep looking for it. So Ashley, I figured we might just do game by game for this one.
Do you want to? Did I not do that? Did I miss something?
Oh, I didn't put it in the rundown, but for the players, I thought we might just do game by game instead of position by position.
I'm fine with that. Christian, do you care?
I'm going to be completely lost, but okay.
I
Yeah, no,
mean,
we can do game by game. It's fine. It's more entertaining and more
Fuck it,
conversational.
we'll do it live.
pretty much.
Yeah, we're gonna do it live.
Pretty much. That's it. One quick thing. Oh my gosh, it's being so slow to I said Dropbox, my Google Drive. It's being so slow to load the results. I need to put it in its own file.
You're gonna edit all this out, right?
Oh, this part, yeah. No,
This part doesn't go in.
This is the easy edit part. This is the easy
cool.
edit part. So
I
let me
get all my
the-
squares out.
I'm fogging up my area.
I drink most of my wine during these times, and I try to get my swears out.
Let me get the. I'm sure Tyler appreciates
This is
that.
why I
No one
love
ever
you,
complains
Ashley.
to us.
It's exactly why I love you.
It's Monday. What
It's
else?
Monday. It's
Okay.
Monday, and if
Final social. No, you're fine. I'm just saying the final social is
right.
out
So
right
good.
there to let everybody know. Okay, here you go. Here you go. Before we should I announce this on the air of the win history?
sure.
Okay, we'll do that officially. Hello and welcome back to our final segment, talking about player targets going into this very short round 16. But first, I looked up the information as I said I would for this segment. The history of the winners for the MLS Fantasy Insider Hosts Invitational head-to-head league, and this information goes back to 2016. I think that might have been the first year that we started, or that was at least the first year that I was able to verify who won. So back at that time, Fantasy Football 24/7 was still playing with us, came in first place. Ben Bear was the runner-up. In 2006-17, Andrew Crawlard came in first place with Blaine as the runner-up. In 2018, our good friend Older Goaler came in first with our good friend Phil as the second place. I won in 2019 with longtime Patreon supporter Sherry Snyder coming in second. 2020 was very abbreviated. That was MLS's back. That was peak COVID right there. We did have a few rounds. I was unable to find any documentation for who may have been winning the league at that time. I think it might have been. I think it actually might have been Patrick, but that one is just one. Unless we can ever confirm that, I just have that marked as COVID. Skylar won in 2021 with Matt Pollard coming in second. Then Cam won in 2022 with Donuts coming in second. And Black and Red won in 2023, so last year, with Donuts once again coming in second. So unless we did this in 2015 and Black and Red came in second first at that time, that would be it. December of 14, I believe, is the start of Fantasy Insider. So I don't think we had the league at least right away. So that's probably the whole thing. I should get some kind of plaque just to have in the background with all down there. So that's the history of the Fantasy Insider winners right there. So as of yet, no repeat winner. So we'll see what happens. But let's get into talking about our player targets. This is going to be a little bit different. Since there are so few games, as we already mentioned, just 4 games. Instead of breaking it down player position by position, we're going to break it down game by game to talk about the players from those teams who we are targeting, or at least who we have some sort of interest in there. So first, let's start out with talking about New England Revolution versus New York Red Bulls. Christian, take it away.
Well, New England's kind of a mystery in terms of like which team's going to show up. Like they've got some quality on that team. They're missing Sean Calais. They still haven't signed a forward worth of crap. So I don't even think that you should be looking at anybody except for Carlos Heel and possibly Dylan Barrera. Their defense is really suspect. So I don't know. Being the home team, I have been burned a few times by like not taking a weaker team just because they're at home. But I don't know. Like somebody posted earlier today about like how in 2023 the away team was by far the lowest average goals or points per game or whatever. But in 2024, the away team is winning more than the home team. So now that we have half a season under our belts, have a sample size, I just want to preface this segment by saying we have kind of flip the script here a little bit by saying field advantage isn't what it used to be and what it has been for several years in this league. I don't know what's different. I don't think it's the fantasy scoring that makes the difference because it's talking real life wins and losses. So we'll see what happens if it's sustainable or not. But this is starting to make me take a strategy of looking at away teams a little bit more closely than I usually do. And this is one of those matches where even the bookmakers are calling for a Red Bull win outright. The odds say it. So I like Red Bulls in this match, and therefore I have Lewis Morgan. Now, the reason I have Lewis Morgan on the heels of a massive failure is because the last time Lewis Morgan played without Emil Forsberg in the side, he scored like 4,000 points because he was on all
5,000,
set pieces.
Solid
Yeah,
5,000.
he was 5,000 points. Sorry, thanks for the correction. Because he's on all set pieces, and with Tolkien being out, he's on all set pieces. Every one of them is going to be on. I doubt well, possibly if that kid Cameron, what's his name? If he's fit and he starts, he likes to play up on the wing and he's a defender. If he starts, he'd be a great differential because he's scored in the last like 3 games that he's played.
Harper.
Yeah, Cam Harper. He showed some flashes of greatness last year, and man, he started a couple of games, or not. He like every time he steps on the pitch, he scores a goal. It seems like this year. So, and it's all because he's playing out of position, whatever. But the point is, there are some real assets to be had with Red Bulls this week. Morgan, for my first 4 drafts, I had him captained. All right, like I feel that strongly about it. I'm also looking at Ryan Mira because Ryan Mira is a competent goalkeeper. In fact, I don't know if you guys remember from a few years ago when Coronel and Mira were signed together, there was a real like controversy who was going to get the start, and it ended up being Coronel. But a lot of people think it really ought to have been Mira because he's just as good, if not better. So I think this is a hidden blessing in disguise, whatever you want to call it, that these guys have been called up for Red Bulls because I think their youth tend to be very good. They tend to be very solid. They have depth, and I think that they're going to take New England to task.
Ashley, anything to add?
I agree with everything that Christian said. I am eyeing a Red Bull defender. The only person I'm sold on from New England is Heel. The defense is rotated enough and not good enough when they're not rotated, New England. Even with the home form and, Red Bull's road form, I can't pull the trigger on anyone else from New England. So I have everyone that Christian referenced, except I'm trying to figure out which Red Bull defender I want. I think I'm going to go with a different keeper, and I'm not really entertaining a keeperoo with this setup. So I think Mirror's a great shout, but I'm going to fill the defensive coverage, I think, with a defender instead. Probably a Nealis. Pick a Nealis.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's fair.
Yeah, I agree with the same. No, go ahead.
Sorry, Dylan should get the start rather.
Yeah,
Dylan Nealis. I think he's better than his brother, frankly, as a fantasy asset.
I do too.
His brother Sean.
Go ahead.
His brother
Yeah.
Sean.
Sean, who missed the part of the double game week due to a red card in the previous double game week 13, so he missed some of that. But yeah, no, I agree. Looking at Red Bulls versus New England this time, there's no one but Heel who I would favor. But I don't know if you would if you're leaning into the Red Bulls clean sheet or hoping for the defense. It seems almost a mistake to have Heel on your start. Like, you need to be on your bench if you're going to go with something like that, because why would you be
And he is.
going exactly? And why would you be
Yes.
going in heavy with Red Bull's defense, but then also have Heel out there, because it's just not going to be the point. So that seems like you'd want to have one of those bits and pieces reversed, hoping that you're having some sort of auto ruse come in to take care of whichever one. Of those
And
players
Morgan's
is the
on my
one.
bench too. I want to try. I want to try a switch because you get to see like a half of
Part
a
of it.
game.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
It's the only viable switch that you could do with the New York Red Bull players, but it does impact potential captain choices with that one. So no, I have nothing else to add right there. I mean, it's I would have liked to have seen New England lose against Nashville in the double game week, because even though Nashville was coming on, they had still been coming off of those weak performances. So there's some caveat there, like, well, they did win, but Nashville's in a weird place right now, so it doesn't make me feel like, oh, well, New England's got this, even with Red Bulls missing some people. I agree with you, Christian. This one seems very much swayed towards the Red Bulls. I think they're definitely a team that you're pulling 3 players from this round, so you got some good options right there. Let's move on to talking about Minnesota versus Dallas. And okay, so what do we want to do? Do we want Christian to take this one again since it's Minnesota, or Ashley, do you want to take this and then let Christian start with the Seattle game? Like, what do you want to
I'm happy to give Christian his team. Let me take mine.
Okay, you'll wrap the last two. So Christian, Minnesota.
I have
Dallas.
some very nice things to say about Seattle this week, but okay.
Yeah.
So in looking at Minnesota, you really have to look. Their only good asset in the attack is going to be Bonji. Okay, like I don't know where he's going to play. He's probably just going to play right wing like he always does. But the only problem with that is Sangbin is going to be there. So Sangbin is on the right. Bonji's on the left where he stinks. And if Ramsey even starts him, because he could start Fragapane on the left. So, and put Bonji up top, who knows? But I have a feeling he's going to start Adebayo Smith at the number 9, which Adebayo Smith is looking okay. I mean, he's not terrible, But we are talking about an FC Dallas team who has a pretty decent defense. They held LAFC for how many minutes? Like 70, 80 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Goalless. So in LA. So I kind of foresee, Minnesota maybe getting 1 goal total, like if that. Now the question becomes, does FC Dallas have the ability to score a goal on the road? And they haven't been able to, like, very often, if at all. So, that said, I still have Jesus Ferreira. I've got him on my bench because Minnesota's missing Miguel Tapias, and we're missing Arriaga, and that's half our spine. And man, there's some reason to look at Musa, but Musa isn't exactly Mr. Consistency. Neither is Ferreira. Like, neither of them are. But at this point, we know what Ferreira can do, and Ferreira has shown that he likes to play in Minnesota. So let's just say he's on my bench for a reason. Betting against my own team. I mean, take that and do with it what you want to do with it. But Minnesota right now is heavily favored to win this game, and I just can't see why. I mean, the bookmakers probably came out with their odds before they saw the call-up sheet. But yeah, missing 9 or 8 starters is going to be a bad thing for us. So I'm not picking any Minnesota people.
Is Lod called out?
Lod's gone. Yeah,
that's what I thought. Okay.
Lod, Tanny. Yeah, I've got it right here. Let me just rehash that. Just to prove the point. Lod, Pookie, Rosales. He's our starting left back. I mean, come on. St. Clair is gone, our goalkeeper. Valentin and Harvey. Harvey's been starting, but I don't think he's like starting quality. But Arriaga is a big big deal. He's out. He's been filling in at center back. So we're gonna have like, and Tanny's gone. So like, yeah, how the heck are we gonna score goals, and how the heck are we gonna keep the ball out of the back of our own net? That's serious concern. So
Yeah.
now Ramsey has pulled it off where like you'll be amazed. It's like he's a magician with tactics. So we'll see. But I don't know. I think we score one just by virtue of being the home team, and we have young legs. We're gonna have young legs out there, and against a very park the bus type of defense. So I think that, if we hammer on them for a while, they'll probably break, but we'll see.
Ashley.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lean Minnesota if Christian doesn't lean Minnesota, but I was interested in Bonky, but I'll leave that alone, I guess. Um,
I mean,
I
it depends on where he lines up.
Sure. I do lean Musa in this particular matchup. Jesus Ferrer just hasn't. He is a great striker. He's a great fantasy point producer. But this season, he's not getting consistent minutes and he's not getting consistent production. Musa has at least been playing. And that's something that I'm taking into this game is he's had more form because he's played more. That's just what's making me lean that way. I'm not like a huge sample size person. I know that comes up a lot in our game. But when you look at the minutes that Jesus Ferrer has had lately, it makes me shy away from him. I like Junqua. I'm worried about shutouts across the board this week, which probably means because of so many people gone, everything's going to be like 0-0. But I don't love shutouts either way. I'm definitely not going Minnesota defense. I think that they definitely struggle without those key players and Dane St. Clair. But I don't love anyone in Dallas's midfield, and Christian knows this team better than me, so I shy away from the Minnesota midfield as well. That was the only place I was.
Yaramendi is legit, and so is Delgado. Both those guys are legit. Delgado shoots like crazy, so
yeah,
I would, if you want a Dallas mid, one of those two should do you fine.
There's other mids that I like better, I guess I should say, of the team.
Oh, for sure.
Interested to hear, because I do happen to have Yaramendi on my bench right now as a potential fifth mid to come in there, though I actually have two mids on my bench with kind of that may change. Yeah, well, you see, I'm playing around with some things because it's a weird week where to bet on what's going to happen, and
I don't really
does
feel
that
like
tend to lend to a 5 defender week at the end of the day, or at least some of those options to give yourself, maybe not, but I think Dallas could be a 3-player team because of everything Christian said about the handicap that Minnesota is going to have going into this game. So, I mean, absolutely. I have 0 Minnesota players. I didn't want any Minnesota players going in because all the players I wanted are gone. And it just really makes me just fear having them in the team for what could happen. I don't have a starting goalkeeper. I have no faith in the defense, which normally I might have questioned Dallas's offense. But without any of that being there, I'm like, well, maybe we could get some production out of Dallas's offense. So I think it's going to be likely to be a bench plays right there, or maybe you have one starter that you're hoping for.
I'm starting Junqua and Pass.
I mean, I could see it that you got an option there for your keeper if you don't want to go with the Red Bull keeper, with Coronel. So I mean, maybe that's what you're hoping for to do a switch. But New England has Heel, who is definitely the bite that could cause a goal for New England, and Minnesota is missing those. So I could definitely see looking at Pass as your single keeper right there. But no, I agree, but I am looking at potentially at a Dallas midfielder for this round. All right, let's move on to Sporting Kansas City versus Seattle. Ashley.
Yeah, like Christian alluded to with the call-ups and stuff, Seattle's missing a non-starter in Nuhu who has already missed some time, and a young decent player slots into his spot. Sporting Kansas City are essentially missing no one in the way of just call ups, right? So Sporting Kansas City at home is something that is historically not a lock for Seattle. Seattle is getting into some better form, I feel like, and Sporting Kansas City is kind of just staying level at not thriving. For me, the only players to highlight from this game is Alex Roldan or Reagan. I think are pretty decent shouts. I personally would not touch the keepers, either the keepers. I think that there's a couple better options. Alex Roldan or Reagan would be who I would highlight. Rusnak or Johnny Russell, I think, are the most compatible. Uh, I don't really trust Joao Paulo or Christian Roldan. They're a little inconsistent. JP can get on some corners, but that's not enough for me to go with. But in a round where, we only have 4 games, I think you can't be too picky, which is why I'm leaning towards Rusnak. And then for strikers, I don't really like anybody, if I'm being completely honest. Rui Diaz is probably my 4th striker for this week. Rui Diaz likes scoring against Sporting Kansas City. Jordan Morris, historically scored a 4-bagger here last year, but that was a different Seattle team, and that was a different Kansas City team. So I think that you couldn't really talk me into a Sporting striker, which definitely means they'll score, but I would hear a Rui Diaz, but he's not in my team right now.
Rui could be good. Right now, I have a triple up of Rusnak. I'm starting Rusnak, actually. I'm starting all 3. Rusnak, Roldan, and that's Alex Roldan and Reagan. I feel pretty safe with those 3 in terms of, and I know what you're going to say about safety in Seattle this year. Okay. But
I mean, go crazy.
This is the other game where the away team is like heavily favored in the odds. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Sporting Kansas City
teams,
Yeah, Russell may or may not even start this game. So, if he starts, I think he's a decent shout. If he doesn't start, absolutely fade him and fade Kansas City, because there's just no good that can come of picking those guys this week. Seattle is like a top 3 defense in the league. So I don't think they're going to get any traction. And if they do, it'll be a fluke. So that's why I would say if you wanted to go with Fry as your backup keeper, that's probably a decent play. At least as decent as Rui Diaz, So yeah, I'm solidly on fade Kansas City and triple on Seattle this week.
I could see tripling up if you wanted to go more into the back right there. I too am hesitant for going with Rui Diaz. I mean, potentially a third forward right there. Maybe if you're using a bench option, if you don't like some of the ones that we've mentioned or going to mention. I think Rusnak's a great shot. He's on a good little bit of form as well over his last couple of games. And Roldan and Reagan are absolutely the 2 defenders who I would look up. So if you wanted to double up there, I could see where that becomes your triple up. I think at least 2 is an easy shout for Seattle. And Sporting Kansas City, I mean, potentially they have the... So I like St. Louis at home. I'm just going to get that out of the way. Of the 3 other home teams, Sporting Kansas City maybe has the best shot at being an underdog that could do something. I think they have some success, but with Tommy still out, with Russell kind of questions, I'm not looking towards Sporting Kansas City right now. Those players just do seem to see unpredictable with who might score and what kind of form you're going to get. Just been a lot of struggles right there. So if you go Sporting Kansas City, they have to be a bench play. I mean, that absolutely has to be a long shot that you're going with the differential. So maybe Tyler's got something for us for that this week. But no, I agree. At least 2, I think, for Seattle is a good shout out right there. So I'm up to 8 players right now from who I've said 3s and 2s. So I think we're doing pretty well. Let's wrap this up with the final game that starts at 8:30 with St. Louis versus Portland. Ashley.
Yeah, St. Louis is another minimally rotated team. Portland a little more so. I know this is going to sound contradictory. Hear me out. I currently have both Rodriguez and Evander. And I also have Klaus and Lowen. I don't know. Lowen looked great when he started this weekend. They took him out for minutes. I'm not sure what the game plan is there. I know everything going on in his personal life, which is incredibly heartbreaking and sad. But it seems like they're working him back into starting form fitness. And if that's the case, I want him in my team. Clausen and J-Rod were easy for me as well. And then Evander to me too. But on the off chance that Portland keeps this weird road form of theirs, I also currently have Totland. He's been getting up. He got on the score sheet recently. It's not just clean sheet points for him, but defense is just tricky this week. He might end up being a second scrub for me. I don't feel more than 50% confident with literally anybody I have defensively. But I'm definitely not picking a Portland defense on the road with the rotation that they have. So if there's possibly a midfield option other than Lowen, but I don't really think I want to go that route. So that's where I sit currently, but it's incredibly contradictory.
Christian.
Well, I think this game's going to end like 3-2 or maybe 3-3, maybe 4-3. So I am avoiding defenders from this game.
Yeah.
Tottenham's a decent shout because of his involvement in the attack, but who's their other right back that's been playing Markanich?
Markanich, I think, yeah.
If he's fit, he seems okay. But yeah, I've got the same 4: Klaus, Lowen, Jonah Rodriguez, and Evander.
Yeah.
For this game, because I just think it's gonna be a goal fest, and yeah, that's pretty much all I got. I mean, they're kind of like they were the easiest picks to. I mean, Klaus is sort of like lukewarm right now, though. You know, like and Loven is you know, kind of coming back from like emotional trauma, and so like you don't know, you know, what you're going to get from them necessarily, but
Sure.
They are at home, and I know that Reed is high on, you know, he rates St. Louis's defense, and I have the same feeling about St. Louis's defense as he has about Vancouver's defense. I don't trust them. I don't trust them for a clean sheet.
Sure.
They just seem way, you know, they're scary to watch. Like if I was watching a game and I was counting on them to keep a clean sheet, I would be, you know, like clenched the entire time. It would be a, like, you know, like I'd have to go to like therapy afterward. So that's why I generally avoid them. You know, Parker, somebody that if he's fit, he's pretty okay. And, but you know, I mean, but like I said before, who knows? Like, you know, like I remember getting blasted by these picks from teams that I didn't trust at all. And they score like tons of points. And, you know, maybe that just means I suck at this, but
no, I think it just means that defenses are tough this week because of the rotations, the lack of games. It's tough. Defense is the toughest pick this week. That you have a 6th or 7th midfielder in mind, or a 4th or a 5th striker in mind. I'm struggling to fit 4 defenders that I believe in into a lineup this week.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm doing an auto room with 5 at the back and 2
Exactly.
scrubs.
Exactly. I think that might
Because there isn't a 4th defender that I really.
Sure.
There aren't even 3. Like,
this is kind of like.
I think Junka is probably the. Somebody from Dallas is probably the best bet, to be honest, even though the odds don't say it. But so might Minnesota, but Seattle, they're up there. They're up there in the stats. They're like top 3 in the league for defense, and I'm just, you're right. It's tough, but I'm just trying to I'm trying to take into account who's missing, what the likelihoods are, whatever, just like we all do, and I'm not happy about any of it. So this week,
none of it feels good.
Yeah, these are the weeks where I'm really interested to see how models and algorithms come out with player picks, because it really has to weigh in. Is there something that is weighing in the impact of individual players into the form and production of the team? Because this is where a lot of that gets shown. And I will defend myself to some extent for this round at least and say that I have zero interest in the defense for either of these teams as well. I mean, this is the team that I wrap up my 4 with, looking at 2 guys from each of these teams potentially being on there. The same players that you have mentioned. I mean, I will say that when I'm looking at my 5th midfielder, Levin is right there in the race. Might drop my Dallas player, might drop heel for that and have him instead, because I did like what he did on the way in. So I had more questions about those 2 right there, and so I do like him. But you could also, if you were looking for a third person, again, I don't think that defense is on the board for this one. I mean, you could look at Pompeu as potentially a third. He's the next highest scoring total with points. But you could also look at and Dina as well as another option. Again, just some of the couple of higher scoring players that they have just on their averages. They're players who have gotten some production the last round or so. But that would be if you're just trying to stretch for a third player. I think the 2 right there. Klaus is just a shot machine. And even I know it's not been falling for him, but I think just on the face for this game, for this match, for this round, he was an easy add for me because he is still consistently just getting so many looks that he has to be in there. And of course, I'm also on Rodriguez, and so clearly this will be a more week. That's just how it's going to fall. I don't think Portland's a 3 team, because you're going with one of the forwards and Evander. That's what it's. They're not good enough that you're going to want both forwards in this game.
In fact, I was going to say, if I had chosen an early forward for my bench, if I scrubbed Jesus Ferreira for somebody like Van Zier or, I don't know, God forbid, Vrioni, then I could actually see half of that game and scrub Rodriguez if he hits in the first half. I mean, you can do a switcheroo this week, but I just didn't like enough.
You only get half a game. You only get half a game.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
or maybe half a game.
Well, I mean, sometimes for an attacker, that's enough.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. Or the defense. You could see they get an early goal. Okay, well, maybe I'll take a flyer on somebody else. Who knows?
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
So you could absolutely do that. All right, let's wrap everything else up. I mean, everything from chat has been pretty similar. I mean, this is going to be a very chalky week for everyone. Going to come down to captains for a lot of people, because there are multiple captain options. So who do you all like, Christian?
Well, like I said, I really want to cap Morgan, and it depends on the lineups. And I can't stress this enough. Everybody's going to have to look at lineups this week. Everybody's going to have to look at them, because a lot of managers are going to rotate, even if they don't have to at certain positions. They're going to say, oh, we got all these people out, so we're going to just, give the kids a shot. And you might see some really decent, diamonds in the rough, or you might see just rough. So make sure that you're paying special attention two lineups this week. But I really want to captain Morgan, but I'm leaning Evander because I have Morgan on my bench. If I do start Morgan, it's going to be hard for me not to cap him.
Ashley.
Yeah, I'm captaining Evander this week. It was kind of an easy look for me. I don't want to overthink it. I would say it's fair to call him a boom or bust player. You know, he kind of runs in that streak, but yeah, I think of the options available this week, Evander was the clear choice to me. I hear Morgan. I think that's a pretty decent shout as well, for sure. But I'm leaning Evander this week.
Evander has fantastic consistency. I think there's no doubt that he is 100% in the captain conversation. Morgan is not far behind with his past results, and having it come to fruition of being the go-to person for set pieces is going to be, I think, huge for him this round as another captain right there. After that, I mean, I think you have to put in a forward in this lineup. For me, I would probably lean Rodriguez. Even though Klaus gets the shots, they've not been falling, and Rodriguez has had some more luck with that. But Klaus would be right there on his heels with him being the home team going into this. Portland's had some success on the road, but Klaus and Rodriguez, I think, are absolutely in the running for captain material. Not a defender at all. This is just far too risky. The clean sheets just don't see pop. So it's going to be one of these forwards. Differential on the sides. I mean, I think you're looking at someone like a Rusnak or like a Lowens or a Musa as one of your differential options right there. But I think the top four have to be Evander, Lewis, Klaus, and Rodriguez right there in some combination of that.
Oh, Heel's decent. I mean,
do you put him over the away? Like, would you put Heel over Rusnak because of him being at home?
No, because he seems to be finding some form after he went public with his criticism of the team.
Okay. I mean, I could be up for that.
That's the only coincidence because it's Porter. I mean, he's going to nerf the team no matter what. So, like, I think, so, like, all I know is, like, everybody who I trust in the chat to make good picks, Heel was in the conversation, if not the captain choice.
Okay. His ceiling has not been huge this year, but he's had some fairly high floors coming in. A lot of that has been built off of his bonus point production that he's been getting from his key passes and his passing and his crosses right there. So if that is going to last, then sure. I could easily add him on there. Do you put him top 3 or do you put him top 5?
Oh, yeah, probably top 5 because, like, I've got him on my bench because I do believe that Red Bulls are
So do I.
Pretty. They're going to keep it tight, at least tight. I mean, they might score a goal. Heel might score a goal. I mean, it's realistic for him to get a penalty shot, but Ryan Mira probably, with his like reflexes,
Now you're digging, though.
Yeah, I'm digging a grave here. Yeah.
And we'll see what the weather is. Someone says in chat that it might be raining in New England, so we'll see. Who knows? That'll come to us from Thrawn at the end. But no. I mean, you convinced me. I understand that the bonus point production. I could see him with the 4 that I listed. I could see Heel being in that number 5 spot before one of the more differential picks that we might get into, just based on that past form, past success that we know, and being a home team going into this. And New York Red Bulls are not 100% at the back with what they would be their A starting team. So not. I mean, I don't expect them to be too far off, but not.
I think Reyes is a very equivalent center back to Eiley.
So they'll be out there, and Tolkien's gone. So We shall see.
Yeah.
All right, well, this is going to be an interesting round. Like I said, I expect there to be a lot of chalk, but don't overlook the differentials this week. I mean, there are definitely some options that are very, very appealing. I can understand the strategies that people may have. Come to the chat, check that out, and look for the articles coming out later on. So we appreciate you guys staying with us. Let's wrap up with the plugs tonight, starting with Christian.
Oh, as always, the MLS Fantasy Boss Discord is who I'm plugging or what I'm plugging, because, it's a happening place, like a party every day. It is,
It is.
You hang out with your pocket friends, you make some picks, you argue some strategy, and, that's what it's all about.
It is. It's good times. Ashley.
Yeah, I'm just, you know what? I'm plugging the Olympics because the U.S. men actually get to go this time. Isn't that cute? That MLS is actually losing U.S. players to go to the Olympics. I love it so much.
Like 3 players, yeah.
You know what? I mean, still, Walker's going.
Yeah, it's true.
There's a good amount of players going. They're just not all starters.
No, I know. I'm messing with you.
Like I said, it's been a while. It's been a minute.
Well, of course, I echo going to the MLS Fantasy Boss Discord. It's an amazing place. It is the best community for MLS Fantasy on the internet. And, of course, MLSFantasyBoss.com to check out all the articles that we will have. We will still have the articles this week as well with the differentials coming out from Team Ranchinator and Christian's Discord player poll, which vote in that, or I will continue to ping the server until we get enough people to vote in that. Enough defined as I see fit. So be sure to check that out. It's gonna be fun, even though it's gonna be weird and it's gonna be short. So that is just because MLS in a nutshell right there. So as always, good luck. Oh, I forgot to hit record. I'm going to pull this.